Hi everybody, thanks for watching. My name is Kayla and this is my Big Easy Home where I share all of the best things about New Orleans with you. And today I'm really excited because I am here with Ryan Martin. Ryan is the founder and the lead taster at Distilled Discoveries. What is Distilled Discoveries, Ryan?
Well, Distilled Discoveries, Kayla, is a company I came up with recently, and it kind of origins back in the pandemic. We'll get to that in just a minute, but really it's a company designed for providing curated and bespoke whiskey tastings to people. And so I provide everything from curated bourbon, rye, Scotch, Irish and Japanese tastings, as well as curated tastings, and I also do blind tastings. So the whole idea behind it is to make whiskey very approachable to people, because it is a very elegant spirit, it's an aged spirit, and so making it approachable and helping people find their perfect spirit, what they really like with their palate.
Okay, that sounds awesome. I give curated food tours, so for me, getting to know somebody, kind of talking to them a little bit, feeling into like their personality, and then orchestrating and sort of designing an experience specifically to satisfy what kind of experience they want to have. It's really fun, and it's kind of an intimate thing.
Absolutely, it's incredibly intimate, because while I have some select tastings that I've already put together for people to choose from, if they're not as familiar, I also open it up for you to create your tasting for yourself. So whether you're holding a corporate party or your whiskey club or weddings, bachelorette parties, whatever it may be, you can come to me and you can say, hey, I really want something a little sweeter, a little bit more spicy, or I really want to try something more craft, something not along the mainstream, or maybe you want to do a blind. I really love doing blind tastings as well, because it takes that marketing out of the play, and you can just really go off your senses. And so really it's a way to create something very unique to your experience if you want to do a tasting, or you're happy to do one of my curated offerings as well, coming from my palate, because I've had the blessing to try hundreds of whiskeys over my lifetime, and so I've kind of curated to try to get something to cross the palate to give you a whole breadth of what these different offerings have.
Nice. So you do like small in-home tastings, and then larger events like corporate parties you mentioned, bachelorette parties, weddings.
Absolutely, yes. I can do in-home events where I can actually travel to you and bring all the glassware. It's a hands-free thing. You just kind of show up with your friends, and I'll bring everything, including all the history, the culture, and the background of these distilleries and the different whiskeys we offer. But I also can do corporate events as well for like weddings and, like she said, bachelorette parties, very big here in New Orleans. Yeah. So pretty much whatever you want to do, I can make it happen, because I am able to travel pretty well with my whiskey.
Awesome. I don't even drink whiskey, and I'm excited. I want
well, we might be trying some in just a minute, so we'll see if you enjoy it.
I was reading on the website and I was like, oh, this looks so fun. I want to do this. What inspired you to start doing this?
Well, it's kind of a two-part thing. My whiskey journey began about 8 years ago when I was clerking for a judge out in Lake Charles, Judge Gene Thibodeau. And it was at his Christmas party, and I didn't know much about whiskey then either. I had it obviously through college and whatnot, but he told me, hey, it's a special occasion, Ryan, go pick out some of the good stuff. And he pointed to a bottle up on his shelf, and it was a bottle of Blanton's Single Barrel. And I knew Blanton's was good, but I didn't really appreciate it. I'd had it maybe once, I don't even really remember before that. But we sat down and I had it, and then we slowly sipped it, and just the rich, the flavors, the complexity of it was so magical. But what was really kind of stood out with me from that experience was the memories that I shared. Like the stories from Judge Thibodeau, who's one of my biggest mentors. And that kind of is what really resonated with me. And I realized that whiskey not only has incredibly interesting culture, incredible flavor, but also it's the memories that you have with your friends sharing a dram. That's what really makes it special to me. And so that coupled with, we bring this to the pandemic. For the last 8 years, I've been trying whiskeys, really building my repertoire, researching distilleries, doing writing on whiskey and various drams and everything. But when we came to the pandemic, I wanted to do something to help give back, because we weren't able to socialize. And so I started hosting virtual tastings where I would send 2-ounce samples of whiskey to friends and family around the country, and people would get together on Zoom and I would host tastings for them. And it was really a great bonding and cultural experience, and we really got to have that connection that we'd been missing for a year. And I decided, you know what, this really brings people together, and it's a fun way, and it brings that back to that memory Judge Thibodeau brought, which is like the memories you share is more important than what you're drinking. And so that experience is what I wanted to bring to people with Distilled Discoveries.
I love that. Yeah, for me during the pandemic too, really missing the opportunity to break bread with people and share food and drink with people.
Absolutely.
Because I also enjoy just like the social atmosphere and the conversation that comes out of sitting at a table with someone. So what a lovely way to bring this, that thing that we were all sort of missing and not really being able to experience in the way that we were used to your friends and family.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just a wonderful way to get together, and what I've really loved is that people like yourself would come in as like, oh, I really don't like whiskey, or they've had a couple experiences with it back in the day, or shooting it at the bars and whatever, and didn't like it. And what's unique is once they really see that there's such a complex, wide breadth of different types of whiskey flavors, even in each expression, be it bourbon, rye, Irish, Scotch, what have you, they realize like, oh wow, I really do like certain expressions, and I really couldn't learn to enjoy this. And it's about building your palate, similar to wine or beer or something else as well. But then you also have that bonding experience, and it's a great experience and a fun thing to do. That's a little bit different than your everyday going out to the bars in the evenings. Now that we're back out of the pandemic, you can do that again.
Yeah, I love it. I think it sounds so fun. So you had your first dram of the good stuff with a judge who you refer to as your mentor. What do you feel is the biggest life lesson that he taught you in the course of your relationship with him?
Well, I consider Judge Thibodeau to be my second father. Like he took me under his wing after law school. I started my legal career, which is another thing I do. This is one of my more entrepreneurial adventures, but on top of my law practice. But he really just taught me to enjoy life to the fullest. Don't work too hard. You got to work hard and play hard is what he taught me. Which seems a little trite at first, but when you really think about it, we get so consumed with so many things in our lives that really what he was saying is you got to take a step back, you got to enjoy the good things as well as push yourself to be the best you can be. And you can only be the best you can be when you kind of have balance. And so that's really what he taught me.
Yeah, I love that. I know I'm constantly working on finding the right work-life balance, being in real estate. It's hard sometimes because you're serving people and you want to be available, but you also have to take your self-care. So, wise words from your Judge Thibodeau. So you've just started this endeavor. What has been? Have there been any big surprises that you didn't expect?
I would say the biggest surprise that I've discovered is I didn't know if it would really take off. Like I really was like, okay, I'm just going to try this out to give something for people to do. I've hosted very informal tastings at my house with my collection with friends when they'd come over, but nothing where I was doing something more curated and orchestrated. And trying to do it online was kind of intimidating the first time as well. And then I remember the first few times I'd had people on, it's like, oh, I really don't like whiskey. And I was like, okay, well, this is going to be a hard sell. And so from there, though, what really surprised me was that just letting the experience take hold and just letting it happen and realizing that people can discover stuff, aka Distilled Discoveries, they can discover what they really like and kind of changing those perceptions, which I was surprised by. I was thinking I might only get connoisseurs and people who like whiskey, whereas really people from all walks of life, people who drink clear spirits, vodkas, gins, also learn to enjoy and it's like, hey, I really might try this at the bar next time. And that's really kind of cool and enjoyable and surprising and makes me feel like I gave something back in the end. So.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I'm a white liquor person. So I'm open-minded. I'm open to you changing my mind at some point.
Okay, I won't hold that against you.
Okay.
we got some time to go. We'll figure it out.
I appreciate that. So forgiving of me. Any big challenges that you've had so far?
The biggest challenge was trying to do it in the virtual format. Previous to pandemic, which is, I was, like I said, it was friends and family, I would just pull out some glasses and it would be right there, and having that interaction face to face really means a lot. Just like any sort of interaction, you being in real estate, you want to get in front of your clients, you want to talk to them better than on the phone or on a computer or whatnot. When you're doing something as intimate as a tasting where you're teaching people how to use their senses, like how to use their nose to pick up the aromas, or how to swirl the whiskey in your mouth to be able to pick up the taste on the palate and the finish, those are things that are hard to translate across online, on top of the labor of being able to ship these all over and navigate the mail laws and whatnot, which luckily I'm a lawyer, was able to figure that out as well. But long story short, yeah, the virtual tastings could be a challenge, but they actually were really rewarding because people were able to hang out with their friends from all over the country. We weren't limited to just being in the greater New Orleans area.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I know when you first said that you sent things in the mail, I was like, ooh, I wonder what kind of limitations and rules and sort of things you had to navigate in order to be able to do that on the up, you know?
Exactly.
So where do you see Distilled Discoveries a year from now?
Well, fingers crossed as we come out of this pandemic, I really am looking at it to become one of the premier experiences to do here in New Orleans. We have a rich whiskey history here in the city. Even to the name of bourbon itself, there are a lot of stories that the name of bourbon whiskey originated from Bourbon Street and the whiskey that was being brought down from the Mississippi River, from Kentucky down the Ohio to the Mississippi, being served on Bourbon Street. That's how it got the name I Want That Bourbon Whiskey, because of the French influence. It was very similar to cognac and whatnot. So we have a rich whiskey history here. So I would like to have Distilled Discoveries become a premier New Orleans experience where people can, besides just going out to bars or whatnot, can actually have a more intimate experience where I could come to them, or we could be out in the park or anything and really experience this spirit and learn a little bit more, and not only do it for events, but for private groups and friends as well.
Nice. You know, when I'm giving tours, people often think that Bourbon Street got its name from bourbon whiskey.
Exact
and I have
opposite.
to backtrack, and now I can add that there's actually some suggestion that it's the opposite.
Absolutely.
Fascinating. See, you're teaching me good stuff already. So.
I'm happy to help.
Okay, the most important question. What is your favorite whiskey?
Whew, that is a tough one because so many expressions, so many different flavor profiles, different types of grain, different distilleries, different maturation processes. My favorite expression in general is bourbon. It's what I really love. It's what I really began me on this whiskey journey. I mentioned Blanton's earlier. It was kind of that first trigger. So Blanton's will always hold a place in my heart, but my true favorite is called a William LaRue Weller. It's a part of the Buffalo Trace Antique Collection, made out of Buffalo Trace Distillery. And it is a between 12 to 15 year, depending on the year, limited release expression of cask strength wheated whiskey. And it's very beautiful, very elegant, really rich flavor. I always get it on my birthday. It's very hard to find. It's not one you can find. You got to hunt for it. And it's very expensive on the secondary market. But if you can get a taste of the William LaRue Weller, it might very well change your life.
So you said 12 to 15 years. Does that mean that it's distilled for 12 to 15 years? Or they only release it every 12 to 15 years?
It's released every year. When I say it's 12 to 15 years, the distillation process is actually fairly short. It's just they do that every single day, and they can distill down to the basic, what they call the white dog, which is the clear distillate from the grain. But it is aged in oak barrels for 12 to 15 years. And usually it's going, in the older days before bourbon became as coveted as it is today, it was more on the 15-year range. So it would be sitting in a barrel for 15 years to get aged to get that flavor. Now it's more on the 12-year side, but it's still very, very elegant.
So much patience.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that I could that I could do that. I like to cook. I like to make things. I like instant gratification. So to prepare something and then set it aside for 12 years sounds like it takes a lot of self-discipline.
Self-discipline and a lot of anxiety too, because what a lot of people don't realize is there's a lot of this liquid that's lost to evaporation. Some of these older barrels, they have opened up and there's been nothing in them.
Oh,
so they've been waiting 15 years to bottle it, and because of how much is lost to evaporation, because of just the aging, you got to kind of roll the dice a little bit. It's a tough industry because of that, but but the end product is really mastercraft and something that should be cherished because of those reasons.
Yeah, I love it. Okay, all right, I'm ready. I'm gonna try some whiskey now.
Yeah, I figured since I am doing whiskey tastings, it would behoove me that I have Kayla try something. So what I brought today was I brought another one of my favorites. This is the Colonel E.H. Taylor Small Batch, also made at Buffalo Trace Distillery. It's named in honor of Colonel Edmund Haynes Taylor, who was at one point the president of Buffalo Trace. At the time it was called Old Fire Copper Distillery back in the 19th century. What he's really well known for, though, is helping push through legislation of the Bottle and Bond Act, which is the first consumer protection law in the history of the United States of any type,
Oh, wow.
and it helped preserve the quality of whiskey from people who were doing rectifying and like making kind of really poor quality whiskey. So he helped pass that through, and so they made this whiskey in his honor. It's a delicious bottle, kind of hard to find, but it's a special occasion. So, cheers, Kayla. Let's have a
Thank you.
sip.
So I have one quick question. Do you typically let whiskey breathe like you would a bottle of wine before you pour?
I do, yes. I like to, when I'm doing a tasting, I'll usually have it pour and just sit. You don't have to let it sit for 10, 15 minutes just to get that initial alcohol vapors out. And then when you're nosing a whiskey, it's similar to wine, except you want to kind of have your nose a little bit further out, have your mouth open, so that you can kind of take in a lot of your taste and flavors come through your nose. And so having your mouth open, you'll actually get some of those expressions. And you just nose it a little bit, and then just take a
Too
little
close, I think. Okay, so now
Cheers.
cheers.
What are you thinking?
I'm swishing it.
The first taste, I will say, no matter how much you love it, and I love it tremendous, I always tell my clients, without any sense of pretension, your first taste will always taste a little bit like gasoline, because it's a shock to the senses. Come back a second time and just let it roll around. Do what we call a Kentucky chew, which is where you let it swirl in your mouth a little bit, and then swallow, let it coat your mouth, and then see what you can bring out of it.
Yeah, because the initial impression was really lovely and smooth, and then like I guess the alcohol part hit, and I was like, yeah, fire in the mouth. Yeah. Okay. So how do I chew?
So we're going to take a little sip. Swirl in your mouth a little bit. Just kind of let it coat your mouth. It's called the Kentucky chew. And then slowly swallow and then breathe through your nose. Picking up some cool flavors now? Or is it just hot?
Still fire in the mouth.
Well, it is a work in progress.
Yeah, I know. So tell me, like, what are you, as a connoisseur, and someone who's sort of well equipped at drinking whiskey, what are you picking up in this that you like so much?
Well, what I like to say with all of my tastings is I leave pretension at the door. It's really important to me. I've been to many spirits tastings and wine tastings where if you're not picking up a certain note here or there, then they almost like look down and a little condescending towards you. I like to say that whatever you're picking up is what you're picking up, and if you like it, you like it. You don't have to pick up the same notes. That being said, what I like with this one, it has a lot of the classic bourbon notes that you look for, a lot of vanilla, a lot of sweet oak, so you're getting that wood from the oak barrels, a little bit of honey, and a little bit of spice on that finish coming out, almost like a peppery kind of texture. So there's a little bit of complexity to the Taylor. I love this whiskey because I think it's a really good introduction to bourbon if you can find a bottle, because it does have a nice kind of breadth of flavor for the bourbon flavor wheel. So,
Okay, try again.
maybe 3 times the charm.
Okay, good.
We'll
Can't
find
drink
out.
too much now. It's a work day, but we'll see. Okay.
Yeah, it's New Orleans. Getting some of that oak.
Yeah, I'm starting to.
As your palate kind of adjusts to the alcohol, you'll actually start to pick up more. It's usually the second, third taste you'll start to pick up a little more.
It's starting to differentiate a little bit now, and now I sort of know what to look for a little bit too, and I think that's kind of helping me identify it in the drink. God, there's something that I feel is distinctive that I can't quite put my finger on, so I'm gonna have to drink another one.
Hey, I'm not going to tell. It's part of my job.
I think I did too fast. I didn't savor it enough. Ooh.
Interesting thing with you bringing in the water, a lot of times with a lot of whiskeys, we are chasing it neat right now, which means just no ice or anything, but a way that a lot of people like to have their whiskey, including me with certain expressions, is to take just a little bit of water, just pipette a little water in. It actually will open up the flavors a little bit,
Okay.
kind of make it a little bit more approachable. So never be afraid to add a little bit of water to your whiskey, or if you're going to do ice, I recommend like a big kind of one of those big ice cubes as opposed to small ice, because there'll be a slower melt. Let that water come into like a little bit just to like open it up without watering it down too much.
Yeah, I think I'm getting some vanilla, some honeys. there's almost like a caramel something. Is that
Yeah, absolutely.
something that you can taste?
Caramel
in
is very much a major thing. That's a great pickup right there. They come as candied caramel. See, you're a natural, Kayla. It just took about 4
It
sips.
just took half the glass. Yeah, it's okay.
That's okay. Like
Good things sometimes take time. So
as with whiskey, it takes a long time as an aged spirit.
awesome. Well, thank you so much. This is awesome. Tell everybody where they can find you online.
Sure, yes. If you would like to learn more about Distilled Discoveries and potentially book a tasting, which I would love to show you the world of whiskey, you can find me at www.distilleddiscoveries.com. You can also find me on Instagram at Distilled Discoveries and Facebook at Distilled Discoveries. And if you'd like to email me, ryanmartin@distilleddiscoveries.com.
Awesome. And is email the best way to reach out to you to book a tasting?
You can do it directly through email, or if you go to my website, there is a place where you can fill out a form, which will come directly to me, and we can get you started on either a bespoke or curated event.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much again for coming and sitting down with me and telling me about your new venture. It sounds really fun. This was awesome. I appreciate it. I'm going to cheers you out.
Cheers.
Thanks so much. Thanks for watching. Hit Ryan up, try a tasting, ask him lots of questions. And if you have any questions about real estate in New Orleans, then reach out to me. You can message me wherever you watch this video. All right, have a great day. Bye-bye.
Cheers, everyone.